another HBCU review. Brought to you by HBCU Live.
Welcome to another edition of HBCU Live. We kick off this week's show in Norfolk, Virginia, where NSU, the Spartans, played host to Morgan State. The MEAC opener for both teams, and it would go down to a fantastic finish. Pick it up in the third quarter. Tyler Clark with a nice run. The Norfolk State quarterback putting the Spartans in scoring position. This would be the third of 3 field goals by Cameron Maru. It would give NSU a 9-0 lead. Late in the third quarter, Herb Walker Jr. would go to work for Morgan State. The pass there, hoping put the Bears in scoring position. Then early in the fourth quarter, Orlando Johnson from 21 yards out makes the deficit 9-7. But Morgan State wasn't quite done. Next possession, Herb Walker Jr. does it himself, calling in his own number from 5 yards out. The Bears take a 14-9 lead with 8:28 to play. Head coach Pete Adrian trying to get his Spartans back in gear. He turns to Terrence Irvin at quarterback. Irvin will find Isaac White across the middle. No points out of this drive though. So the Spartans find themselves having to pull out a miracle in the final seconds. Tyler Clark would be the man for the job. With 29 seconds to play, he sneaks it in from a yard out. Norfolk State, with the hard-fought win at Dick Price Stadium, pulls out the 15-14 win over Morgan State to go to 1-0 in league play. Up the road in Hampton, Pirates head coach Connell Maynard trying to pick up his first win in MEAC play as the Pirates played host to South Carolina State. Maynard won a couple of MEAC titles as quarterback for North Carolina A&T, trying to work the same magic now as the Pirates head coach Jorian Washington running the daylight there. South Carolina State also having success on the ground. That's Jalen Simmons. Simmons with 129 yards rushing on 17 carries. The Bulldogs as a team would run for 225 yards. D'Andre Lewis Freeman running the daylight there for the Bulldogs. But it was a 3-0 Hampton lead at the break. We're going to pick it up in the fourth quarter now in a 3-3 defensive struggle. But the Bulldogs moving it down the field. Adrian Collick Jr. to Taquan West. West thinks he has a TD. The refs say no. So Collick Jr. finishes the drive a couple of plays later with a touchdown run to give the Bulldogs a 10-3 lead. But the Pirates would strike right back. Jorian Washington, a 57-yard touchdown run to tie the game at 10. The Pirates on their next possession trying to make another scoring opportunity. Washington with another nifty run. Hampton would get in the red zone, have a chance to score, but couldn't put points on the board, and it would come back to haunt them because Jalen Simmons would score a touchdown with 1:09 left in the game. Hampton comes out on the short end of a 17-10 game against South Carolina State. Taking you from the MEAC to the SWAC, Montgomery, Alabama, home of the Alabama State Hornets. ASU hosting Texas Southern. TSU coming into this game unbeaten at 4-0. That is Malcolm Cyrus. He's a pretty good running back. Had to show you an obligatory highlight. Preston Clark's a pretty good kicker. That kick gave ASU a 3-0 lead. Later, Daniel Duhart on the quarterback keeper. I'd say he made the right call on that read option. It sets up the second of 3 field goals by Clark to give ASU a 6-0 lead. After the third field goal made it 9-0, Duhart goes back to work. He's tired of field goals. He wants touchdowns. So he hooks up here with Earl Lucas, and ASU is in scoring position again. Duhart finishes the drive himself on the 25-yard quarterback keeper. 17-0 Bama State. The Hornets putting the sting on Texas Southern. But the Tigers would try to rally. Jamal Small finds Davion Porter. Porter taking the ball inside the red zone. Tough running here from Porter. but they can't push the ball into the end zone. TSU has to settle for a field goal from Eric Medina to make the score 17-3. All you have to do is watch this play. Duhart throws it up, giving Demario Bell a chance to catch it. Bell makes the catch. 24-3 after that touchdown strike. Then the defense steps up for Alabama State. Small picked off by Marcus Berg. That would set up yet another scoring opportunity for the Hornets. Then the defense puts points on the board themselves. Ball gets away from Homer Causey. He's trapped in the end zone by Deion Silman. It's a safety. 3-3, Bama State at the break. Then in the third quarter, more defense. Torrey Davis strips Small of the ball. Bama State recovers. Davis loves that. He's going to love this too. Duhart finishing the drive with the touchdown run. All Alabama State at the new ASU Stadium. Bama State wins big, 38-3, your final score. Keeping it in Sweet Home, Alabama, it is Tuskegee playing host to Lane College in an SIAC tilt. Second play of the game, Hodrick Lowe gets his tippy toe on. Down the sidelines he goes. 64 yards later, he's in the end zone. Tuskegee has a 7-0 lead 1 minute into the game. They were just getting started. Kevin Lacey drops back. Finds Marquell Gardner. Pitch, catch, and run, setting up a field goal by Trevor Wiley, and Tuskegee has a 10-0 lead. Not a whole lot to tell about if you're Lane College in this game, but Terrence Ayers escapes trouble here, gets a first down, no points out of the drive though for Lane. Look at this run by Lowe, cuts it back, making people miss. That's just not right. And after a breakout run like that by Lowe, you just go between the tackles with Michael J. Thornton and you just beat people up. Michael J. Thornton inside the red zone. A few plays later, it's Michael J. Thornton between the tackles. Give him 6. 17-0 in favor of Tuskegee. The route is on. Justin Narrett back to throw, finds Tyree Brooks coming out of the backfield on the screen. He's untouched. Another score for Tuskegee, 24-0. The ROTC getting their exercise on. And there would be more push-ups to do before this game was over. In fact, there was more push-ups to do before the half was over. Lowe with his second touchdown run. Tuskegee now winning big, I tell you, 30-0. Roderick McKee to Jamie and Donning. Big play here for the Dragons, sets up their only score of the game. A field goal by Carlos Moore, but it's 30-3 Tuskegee at the break, and they come out in the third quarter, putting a little icing on the cake. Lacey to Brooks, 35 yards later. Brooks barrels into the end zone. It's a touchdown. Tuskegee wins big at Abbott Stadium. Final score, Golden Tigers 44, Lane College Dragons 3. Let's get you caught up on the CIAA now, where Winston-Salem State opened league play at home in Bowman Gray Stadium. SU hosting Elizabeth City State. Pick it up in the second quarter. We're tied at 7. Rudy Johnson to D'Amico Jones. Jones battling his way into the end zone. Give him 6, 14-7 SU at the half. Tough break for Elizabeth City State. Tyrell Houghton, the starting quarterback, gets knocked out. Will Boyette has to run the show in the second half. He would have his work cut out for him because Rudy Johnson and Jamal Hayslip was carving up the Vikings secondary. That reception would set up Winston-Salem State's third score of the game. Johnson to Brendan Felder to the pylon. Give him 6. 21-7 now, Winston-Salem State. Boyette's got to go to work, and he's got to go to work fast. The deep ball reeled in by Montario Hunter. ECSU is in business. Later, Boyette finds Lovey Banks-Rose. Banks-Rose caught a touchdown pass in the first half, but he would be denied on this drive. Boyette picked by Matthew Browning. A promising drive goes up in smoke. Waverly Tiller didn't like that, and he won't like what you're about to see here. Phillip Sims in at quarterback for Winston-Salem State. And on play action, he's going deep. the pretty deep ball. Reeled in by Eric Williams. Williams takes the hit, scores the touchdown, 28-7 in favor of SU. Another promising drive goes up in smoke for Elizabeth City, a bad snap and field goal formation, and everything's looking good for Winston-Salem State. Rudy Johnson, Jamal Hayslip doing more damage in the Vikings secondary. Then it's Johnson to Felder one more time. Felder thinks he's in the end zone for the touchdown, not quite. So Tyree Massey gets ready to finish off this drive. He does just that. Winston-Salem State opens league play with a very impressive 35-7 win over Elizabeth City State University.
The biggest thing we got going for us right now is we do have some leaders. We got talent, but I'm still looking for the chemistry to come in and finish gelling. And that's going to have to take place offensively, defensively, but most importantly, special teams right now. Well, as far as the X's and O's, I let Coach Lobo and the offensive staff handle that. As far as the defensive side of things, we still got the continuity of the staff that we've had for the last 4 years, and going into this 5th year with the same staff, adding Coach Richardson, who was a great recruiter and the recruiting coordinator, it's made the transition with that a lot easier. So I don't have to pay as much attention to the defense as far as trying to reinvent the wheel with that. We do want to put a couple more wrinkles in there because right now we've been doing the same things for the last 4 years. And some of the personnel we had doing those good things with, some of those guys are gone. So we're having to do a couple of tweaks here and there.
You know, he'll reward his players. Coach Maynard was more disciplined. Everything is, you know, if you don't do this right, it's punishment. And Coach Boulware is more encouraging. If you do this right, then you'll be rewarded. So, I mean, I feel like they're about winning, and they're both about discipline. I feel like Maynard was a good coach, and I feel like Coach Boulware is a good coach as well.
Down in Charlotte, we got to keep our pets on a leash. Somebody reel in that Golden Bull. Put that Golden Bull back on his leash. Johnson C. Smith taking on Virginia Union. Early on, Jerome Robinson trapped in the end zone. That's a safety. Johnson C. Smith jumps out to a 2-0 lead. All the breaks going early in favor of the Golden Bulls. Bad snap and punt formation usually means bad things. But Mateus Lambrick throws up a prayer. It's answered by Deontay Sanders. And Johnson C. Smith is in scoring position, but Virginia Union special teams would step up. The attempted field goal is blocked. VUU still trails, however, by a score of 2-0. Then both teams step it up on defense. Michael Grant, he's D'ing up for Johnson C. Smith. But the Panthers can play some defense as well. Andrew Alexander in at quarterback gets sacked by Shea Smith on the cornerback blitz. Then it's more magic from the VUU special teams. Lambrick back in punt formation again for Johnson C. Smith. The result's not so good this time. The Panthers block the punt. Ball rolls out of the end zone. A couple of 2-run doubles. And we're tied at 2. Yeah, I know it's October. Gotta talk a little baseball. Throw the baseball reference in there. Don't need a baseball reference for this. Shaheem Dowdy to Jussie York. Pitch, catch, and score. VUU goes up by a score of 9-2. Panthers looking for more just before the break. Dowdy will get picked off this time by Kerry Hartley, and JCSU matriculates the ball down the field, getting ready to score a touchdown. But they can't score the touchdown, so they settle for the field goal to make it 9-5 VUU at the break. In the third quarter, JCSU steps it up. Keon Wallace, trapped in the backfield, scrambles out of danger. Not good for the Panthers. A few plays later, Wallace will find Michael Rhines in the end zone to give JCSU the 12-9 lead, but VUU would get the last laugh because Jussie York catches a touchdown with 49 seconds left to play. JCSU comes up on the short end of a 27-26 score at Irwin Belk Field.
We're on the phone now with Coach Mark James, Virginia Union University. Coach James, you guys are off to a fast start, 3-1 in your first season at the helm. What do you credit with that success? You know, the guys have worked hard to come together. We have very good coaches here that are working to develop these young men. And we think, you know, step by step it's starting to come together for us.
How does having athletic director Joe Taylor around help with the program?
Well, definitely whenever you have somebody that's had that much experience with that much winning on the levels that he has, it's definitely an aid that, you know, you can't put a value to it.
What would you say is your main philosophy that you want to instill in your student athletes?
Main philosophy is discipline, and definitely instilling a culture within them that they can be successful and overcome the different hardships that, you know, they meet from day to day. We try to use football as a conduit to be able to get that out there, that message out there through them.
From what I've researched, the past 3 games, you guys have either blocked a kick or done something very special on special teams. How important is that to you that your special teams is showing up in that way?
You know, we're a big special team, and that's one of the 3 phases of football. We spend a lot of time every week on special teams of trying to put the right people at the right place. So, you know, it's a credit to the work that the coaches have put in on each special team.
I've noticed by looking at the roster and everything, you guys have a lot of Florida players coming out of Florida recruits and things. I know your whole background coaching is from Florida and everything. Talk about the transition from bringing the guys up, bringing them into Richmond, Virginia, and that area and things.
Well, sure. Definitely when it comes to Florida guys, you know, they always, you know, look, you know, especially from South Florida, they always are looking for somebody that they can trust before they make a move to come out of the state. So when you have those kids that don't necessarily go to the top 3 schools in Florida, and you have an opportunity to recruit one of them to a Virginia University, they're definitely looking for something that they can relate to. I'm from Florida. I'm from South Florida. You know, I've coached in South Florida. A lot of still coaching ties with a lot of guys. You know, I've coached a lot of guys that are head coaches now in South Florida. So when you look at our roster and you see a lot of Florida guys, it's reflective because of that. We are, I do want to say that we are making great strides in being able to, you know, recruit more Virginia guys, DMV guys. So we are working on it.
And the last question on the game against Fayetteville State, you guys allowed 11 rushing yards. Talk about that as a coach. That's prideful, you know, your guys, you know, getting down to the angle of the program. 11 rushing yards is incredible. Talk about that.
Well, our defense is definitely one of the jewels of our football program. Our philosophy on defense has been bend but don't break, and we play a physical brand of defense. We practice that way so that the game is easier than the actual practice.
Ladies and gentlemen, and people of all ages, introducing to you the 2014 Livingstone Blue Bears. They're not CIAA doormats anymore. Darrell Williams and company opening CIAA play against Bowie State. First play of the game, Drew Powell to Jalen Hint. From the sidelines he goes. The Blue Bears in scoring position right off the bat. A few plays later, they get points on the board. Powell to Arthur Bowden. Bowden to the pylon, give him 6. 7-0 Blue Bears. Then the Livingstone defense steps up. Trayvon Bennett back to throw. For Bowie State, he's trapped in the backfield. That's a sack for Daniel Walker. But the Blue Bear defense wasn't done making plays. Bennett's pass deflected into the arms of Hilden Bush. LC looking good early, and then Bowie State flexed a little muscle. Curtis Pumphrey laying the wood. Pumphrey with a strong game for Bowie State later. Powell trying to make something happen, but Pumphrey gets the interception for Bowie State. This game would go back and forth between the two teams. Now, if I'm showing you a punt, it can't be good news for one of the teams. That's a low line drive punt. Hendricks catches it in full stride. No one's going to stop him. It's a 49-yard punt return touchdown. Livingstone, Bowie State comes down to the final seconds. The Blue Bears get a field goal as time expires. LC 4-0 after the 36-33 win over Bowie State. Live scoreboard so you can see how your favorite team fared last week. Edition of HBCU Live. We've got more action coming your way next week. Hey, support the cause. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Hey, hit us up, hbculive@aol.com, or give us a call at 704-609-7157. We'd love to hear from you. Some of the action that we're covering next week: North Carolina Central playing host to Howard and Durham. We also have Bethune-Cookman playing host to Delaware State, and the big one in the SWAC between Alcorn State and Alabama State. We've got those games plus a whole lot more coming up for you next week on HBCU Live. We'll see you then.